open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
Hello, Kentuckiana. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice, likely on 970 AM in the Louisville area, but we also have live streams online. You can find those by searching for Kentucky's Voice on either YouTube or Facebook. You can catch those live streams, and then especially on YouTube, we archive all of our old videos. We clip them up, and so if you want to see any of the shows from the past, and that includes all of our other hosts, I want to put a plug in for Jim Waters, who usually hosts on Tuesdays, Andrew Cooper Ryder, who usually hosts on Wednesdays, and Bob Scott and Tom Fallbush and Debbie Rollins, who tend to host on Thursdays and Fridays. So we're entering election season, and my hope is for the next 3 Mondays. The election is only 3 Mondays, and then that Tuesday away. So we got 3 weeks. Basically, we're right in the home stretch as a takeoff on the Derby that just happened. So what I'm going to try to do is bring in relevant races, some races that are going to be very tight around the state and especially in the Louisville area for next week. And you're going to be able to hear from some of the best candidates that we have, conservatives that are anti-corruption, and I think are going to appeal to our viewers. Some of these people have been on the program before. And so I'm pleased to be joined today by 4 such candidates. I think I've had 3 of these guys on before for a short segment, and so we're going to bring them back on and hear about how their races are going as we go down the stretch. Those 4 men that we're going to have interviews with are Shannon Denniston, who is running for State House in District 74. We will have on Jeff Hensley, who is running for State House in District 81. I take that back, District 91. And then we will have Andrew Simpson, who is running for State House in District 81. And then finally, the last half of the show, we are very pleased to welcome on Ryan Dotson, who is running for Congress, U.S. House in District 6, which is kind of the Lexington areas, and surrounding areas, almost to Frankfort in the east. Goes a little bit to the west, not all the way into deep Appalachia, and then a little bit down, and I think includes Madison County, which a couple of our other candidates are from. So we're pleased to have him on for the first time. I know that we have old interviews between him and Bob Scott in particular that I encourage you to go listen to as well. All right, so let me take care of a little bit of side business. We had the Derby this past weekend, as well as Kentucky Oaks. There was a lot of media coverage of how the Kentucky Oaks was moved from usually happening somewhere around 5 p.m., maybe 6 p.m., all the way to 8:30 to be in prime time. The intent of that was to have a better TV window for Churchill Downs to feature the sport on Friday. And so they didn't want to have an early start time when people are still on work. It apparently was quite successful. The Derby had the highest ratings that it has ever had. The peak ratings were 24.4 million people watching that. That was higher than any day of the Masters, as just for reference. And then I think the overall average viewership during the time window that they showed the Derby was 19.6 million, the highest ratings they've ever had. The Oaks had 4 times the viewership that they ever have had and 8 times what they've had the last 3 years. So For people that do not love that move of the Oaks to a later time, I'm sorry, but I think it's likely that they're going to keep it. Money talks, as they say. I do want to congratulate Golden Tempo, the horse that won the Derby, coming from last to first. It shows in Kentucky sometimes an underdog does come through. And to Charlie DeVoe, the first female trainer to ever win the Kentucky Derby. I also want to give a shout out. A lot of people know that I actually used to coach and be in the front office with the 76ers, the Philadelphia 76ers. They managed to defeat the Celtics finally. They won a Game 7 against the Boston Celtics. The first time that they've done that in, I think, 42 years. So congratulations to them. Join us after the break where we talk about state and local politics. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. You're listening to me, your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson. I'm the president of the Kentucky Liberty Caucus, as well as the Louisville Tea Party. Our coverage today is going to touch on politics, especially in the Lexington suburbs area, especially to the right, the east, and to the south. We have three people that are running for the State House, and we have one person who's running for U.S. Congress in that general area. I want to remind our viewers that if you want to text into the show, I'll do my best to work in some of your comments. You can do that at the text line 502-571-0970. I'll repeat, 502-571-0970. Text in your questions. I'll try to incorporate them as I can, although I'm not great. I know our other hosts are better at doing that. You can also text that line, just the word give, and a link will pop up that will take you to our website, which you can donate to. We are a listener-supported program, and so if you want to have conservative talk in the Louisville area, which I know you desperately do, we certainly need it. You can support us either with a monthly gift or maybe a one-time gift. So I encourage you to go. That website is kyvoice.org. That's kyvoice.org. Okay, let's hop into it. I do want to do a little bit of background. First, it's May 4th. So as the Star Wars people like to say, may the 4th be with you. The first thing that I want to promote is that Thomas Massie is having a money bomb. It's starting today. I believe it's already live. It will be going for the next 3 or 4. A money bomb is a coordinated giving event. In Thomas Massie's race, independent expenditures that have come from outside billionaires primarily, and I believe 85% of his opponent's donors are from out of state, that you can give to his campaign in order to counteract that. I believe $15 million has already been spent on smear ads against him in this. Massie has done a noble job of trying to raise money in order to counter some of that messaging. I think he's up to $4 or $5 million in terms of his own fundraising. Just a crazy amount of money that has been spent in that race. And if you live in that district, I can guarantee you, you are exhausted, and I am exhausted with all those ads. But although I don't love the influence of money in politics, that's the reality. So if you have some extra money, go to Massie, that's MASSIE, money, bomb, MOBOMB, bomb, like an explosion, .com, MassieMoneyBomb.com. There is another event that there are another two events that are related to politics in this in our listening sphere. Stephen Carney is running for state senate just south of Louisville, south and southeast. So the counties, I believe it's Spencer, Marion, Washington, and Spencer. And if I'm off on one of those counties, I apologize. Stephen Carney is having a meet and greet and fundraiser on Thursday of this week at 6:30 p.m. And if we have that graphic, can we put that up? So, okay. No, if we don't, the address for that is 6274 Old Bloomfield Road in Bloomfield, Kentucky. So you can find that online. I would recommend that you go to his Facebook page. That is Stephen Carney, and that's a PH, not a V. Stephen Carney for State Senate. Find that on Facebook, and you can get the details. You can get that address. Anyway, it's free to attend, but it is a fundraiser, so I encourage you to give. He's one of the two best candidates in that race. I don't tell anybody who they should or have to vote for, certainly, but he is a genuine conservative. I also want to promote that the Louisville Tea Party will be having their monthly meeting, which I am the president of, in 2 Thursdays from now. That is the first day of in-person voting. Though that will start, the actual meeting will start at 6 p.m. That is at Roosters in Middletown. The address for that is 10,430 Shelbyville Road in Louisville. Come out. I expect that we will have somewhere in the area of 8 to 10 candidates that will be giving you their pitch for why they're the best choice in these local elections. And in the Louisville area, there are a lot of elections that are not partisan. All of the Metro Council races and the mayor's election are nonpartisan. So you actually need to know the name of who you want to vote for. You're not going to just be able to click the D or the R box and think that your vote is going to go to who you want it to. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about very briefly before I bring on my first guest is there are a lot of endorsements that are flying around, and I just want to encourage you. While that's an interesting data point. Hey, I kind of like this person, and they kind of like another person. Maybe I should vote for them. I want to encourage you not to do that. Think for yourself. Do the research. Listen to programming like this where you can find out more about the candidates. Think for yourself. And I also want to encourage you in one other way. Do not throw your vote away. You can do that in two main ways. Not showing up to the polls. Turnout in these primary elections is often very low, 15% or less. So your vote, if you show up, has a huge impact on these races. Please use that power. And the other way that you can throw away that vote is by trying to issue a protest vote by voting for somebody that's going to get maybe 5% or less of the vote. Whatever protest that you think that you are making, nobody that has any power or influence is getting that protest message. So do not do that. Pick the best candidate that is a viable candidate in those races. Okay, I want to bring on our first guest. His name is Shannon Denniston. If we can bring him on. How are you, Shannon?
Hey, doing great. Good morning.
Good morning. And my understanding is you are running, and we have had, I again want to encourage people to go to YouTube, our Kentucky's Voice channel. I have a previous interview with Shannon that was a longer segment. You can learn about some of his positions in more detail if you find that. But he is running in District 74, correct me if I'm wrong, Menifee, Bath, and Montgomery counties.
You got it right.
So, Shannon, tell us, how is it going? I know we've only got 3 days. You've been out knocking doors like crazy. I see all the posts on social media. Just tell me in general, what are your thoughts on the race as we come down in this home stretch?
Well, I feel really good about it. I've knocked about 1,200 doors. We're between 1,200 and 1,300 doors, and I have a few more thousand to get to, but the response has been great. A lot of people share different stories with me. And I've got a lot of stories collected now to take to Frankfort. Just stories that people need to hear there. How hard people have it today. You know, the $5 fuel is not doing anyone any favors, and it's starting to show up at the cash register. And people are excited to finally have the opportunity to vote for someone that's going to take a serious lead in ending the property tax and making sure we get the income tax ended.
Yeah, that's great. And you kind of led into my next question. When you're knocking on doors, I know that you've made ending the property tax one of the feature planks of your campaign. But when you knock on doors, what is the feedback that you're getting? What are the things that people in your district care about? And this is the best way to really learn that, is knock on the doors and talk straight to people, face to face, eye to eye. So what are they telling you?
Taxes. I mean, just taxes. They're ate up with taxes. They're taxed in every direction. People are just fed up with taxes, and property taxes are a large part of middle class, working middle class people, people that are on fixed incomes. Property tax is extremely regressive because it takes such a huge chunk out of their income. People made the comment, numerous people made the comment that their property tax bill now is larger than what their mortgage payment used to be when they initially bought their property. There's some counties where property tax bills have tripled. There's a gentleman in Rowan County reached out to me, which is outside my district, but his tax bill this year went from $2,700 to $6,700.
Wow.
Things like that should not happen.
Yeah.
There should be tied to inflation or something of that matter, so that your assessment, or better yet, freeze the assessment at the time of purchase. Let the next guy pay that, inflated price, pay the taxes on it, because you may not realize the gains that government's claiming that you are receiving, and you're not receiving those gains. They're just they're fiction.
Right. Okay. I know you had a couple other legs of your campaign, the way that basically the government won't let people use facilities that they've paid for. Can you just talk a little bit about that? What are some of the other things that you've been emphasizing in your campaign?
Well, that goes back to school choice. I believe that the dollars should follow the child. The parents should decide which school or schools their children attend. If you want to homeschool your children and you don't want to accept a voucher from government taxpayer money, then nothing should change for you. If you could use some assistance and you do accept a voucher, then I think there should be some guardrails in place, perhaps just as simple as an annual test to make sure your child's keeping in pace with other children and other schools. Yeah. But right now, the system that we have, Lance, is basically one where you're getting charged to go eat at McDonald's every day, and you're not even eating at McDonald's. In a lot of cases, your children are in a different school, non-government option, and in Mount Sterling here, you can send your children to a Christian traditional school for about $3,800 as their top tier, and compare that to government spends right around $20,000 to educate your child. So what if we were to provide a $5,000 credit voucher to parents?
Yeah.
Instead, it would save $15,000 of taxpayer money for each voucher that's utilized. So I think that the emphasis should be on education. Another problem that we have is here in Montgomery County and other counties, the proficiency level is low. It's between 40 and 50%, and we're graduating 90+% of seniors. So that just doesn't add up.
Okay. All right. And now for people that maybe you're not so familiar with your campaign, you are a major real estate developer in the area. You are a businessman, basically. And so you're bringing a businessman's voice into this position. Is that your closing argument?
A business owner. Yes, I've been a small business owner for 30 years, and own a real estate brokerage, also provide housing to others, and excited to tackle the affordable housing issue that the state's facing.
Okay. We'll be joined after the break. Shannon.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. You're listening probably on 970 AM. Also find us on YouTube or Facebook for a live feed. We just got off of in our last segment, had on Shannon Denniston, who is running for State House in District 74. I encourage you to go to his website, which is Denniston. That's with an S and a T, Denniston, forky.com. Give to his campaign, find out more about his messaging. Next on, we have another candidate for State House just to the east of Fayette County / Lexington, and his name is Jeff Hensley. I want to thank you for being on, Jeff.
Good morning, Lance. Thanks for having me.
All right. I encourage people to go find our YouTube. We had a previous interview with Jeff, and he talked a little bit about his campaign. But same thing that I kind of asked on Shannon. We're coming down. We've got 3 weeks to finish out this campaign. You've been out knocking doors. You've been attending some events. What's the read on the ground? How's your campaign going? And just basically, what is the feel on the ground of how this race is going to play out?
Well, we have been on the ground, Lance. We've been giving out, knocking on door to door, over 1,400 doors, getting with the people at their doors, getting the people at the communities, and just really listening to them. What's their concerns? And we've had a very large amount of people that really wants to know about the government, how it's running. Is the fairness to them? Is their tax dollars getting treated right? And so we're going to just continue doing that. We're excited about it. The output that we're getting is just very invigorating. And the people are excited about our race here in the 91st District.
Yeah. I want to just emphasize another point. In these primary races, the turnout can be as low as 15-something%. So it's almost like you're getting 3 times as much impact for you getting out and voting as you would have in a general election. So I encourage everyone to do that, passionately get out there and vote. Jeff Hensley. All right. Now, in your race, there's been I think you're running against someone who has run and lost twice previous. He quite possibly could run and lose a third time this time. So just talk a little bit about how much that's played into it. Like he spent a lot of money building a lot of name recognition, but not to so much effect so far.
Well, that is correct. This is his third time running for this position as state representative. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get elected. This job pays about $30,000 a year starting out. A lot of people scratch their head on that. We're going to just do the groundwork on it. Get some mailers out. The people are listening to what we talk about more than what money is spent.
Yeah. And the reality is you're actually the candidate that has more experience in this race. You've been a magistrate for quite a while, right?
Well, I'm a lifelong true Christian conservative my whole life. I was elected. I started serving at 29 years old to the communities. And I've been there. I've listened before. I've served them before. I try to listen to the, their emotions and what they want to input on the government. I can tell you that we are in a very strategic time with the government. We're having trouble meeting the budget. I'm for term limits. I'm trying to pass that in the first 2-year term that I'm there. Yeah. And I'm also trying to do some other House bills.
Okay. I think that's a good kind of closing argument on what your priorities are going to be. If people want to go and contribute to your campaign, kind of counteract some of those hundreds of thousands of dollars right here at the end, you can still buy some Facebook ads and get your message out. Where do they go?
Jeff Hensley for state representative there and on our website. Yeah. And we are getting more and more all the time. So it is we are receiving a larger donation at this time. Okay. People are starting to get aware of it.
All right. I think that's Hensley4ky.com, HENSLEY, Hensley 4FORKY.com. Go to that website, find out more about Jeff's campaign, and best of luck here in the primary election. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Next on, we got Andrew Simpson. again, I've had an interview with Andrew before. I encourage you to go. He and Ryan Bivens was part of a feature where we did a whole hour on ag issues. And so can we bring on Andrew Simpson? How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And you are running for State House in the District 81. Is that all in Madison County?
All in Madison County. It's
Okay.
not the whole county, but it's most of it.
That's right. That's right. And surprisingly, Madison County includes Berea, I think, and also Richmond, but it's actually largely an agricultural county. It has the most pasture land of any county in the state. So same question I had for the other guys. What are you seeing on the ground? I know you've been out. I've seen pictures of you with your family out knocking doors, attending various events. What's the read on the ground in your race? What is it that the people on the ground are telling you that they care about most? And what is your campaign focused on, and try to address some of those issues that you're hearing about?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest issue right now facing Madison County and probably statewide is just the growth. Richmond's one of the fastest growing cities in the state, and so is Berea, and we just happen to have two of them here in our county.
Yeah.
I think there was a study done, actually it came out a few weeks ago, that said Madison County is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation.
Yeah.
So we've added a tremendous amount of people, which is great. I want people to come here and live, but I also want them to be able to afford homes. The biggest issue people have right now facing our county is the traffic. It's the just tremendous amount of growth. People don't want these cookie cutter homes just being built in subdivisions all over the place. Mm-hmm. Their infrastructure is not caught up to where it needs to be putting so many homes and different businesses and things here. And a lot of our businesses go under, or small businesses here, and then a lot of franchises move in. So it's kind of a struggle, and that's the number one issue that we're seeing at the door, seeing at all these community events. We just had one. We hosted one on our farm last week or week before last. We had about 160 people there in attendance that all are on the same page with the growth problem that we're facing here.
Yeah. Okay. And your opponent has held this seat for a while. I don't know, maybe 4 years. She decided she was going to run for U.S. Congress. Then she decided that she wasn't going to after you had already got into the race. And now she's being funded by a couple of PACs that have got a lot of money running against you. So are you finding that your work on the ground and your ties to the ag community in particular is a strength that's going to be able to counteract some of that money that's come in behind her and her indecisiveness in that race?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We're killing it on the ground. I mean, our grassroots is no one's going to outwork me in this race. We're knocking doors. We're hitting all these pancake breakfasts and fish fries that we can. It seems like every day I'm at the baseball field talking with people, handing them flyers, handing them signs, whatever. I will not be outworked at this race here. Yeah. And she's got a lot of I would say dark money coming in, a lot of PAC dollars coming in, several $1,000s from Frankfurt. Our average donor is $100, $150. And we're not really pushing those people because we know that they're facing, hard times right now economically. So we're not pushing the issue. We're running a grassroots campaign, and we're getting actually in front of the people, and that's just something she's not willing to do. Yeah,
I understand that. Now, if somebody wants to try to counteract some of that spending, maybe let you get some Facebook ads here up at the end, where do they go to find out more about your campaign and maybe give to your campaign?
Yeah. So we have a huge Facebook presence. I'm posting every day, every other day. But if you want to go and give, you can look on Facebook, or you can go to voteandrewsimpson.com and scroll down, and there'll be a donation bar there. But like I said, if you want to know more about our platform, go to the website, go to the Facebook, or just call me. I mean, I've gave my number out to all kinds of people. Please call me, reach out to me. We'll discuss whatever your issues are, and we'll take them to Frankfurt.
All right, I appreciate you. I just want to, that's Vote Andrew Simpson, exactly how it sounds.com. Go to that site. And full disclosure, I have given to the campaign of Andrew Simpson. I've also given to the campaign of Jeff Hensley and Shannon Denniston. Get out and vote. The vote is on May 19th. Please, you exercise your civic duty and get involved in politics. Thank you.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson, with the Kentucky Liberty Caucus and the Louisville Tea Party. On today's show, we have been blessed with three previous candidates who are all running for the Kentucky State House. In a second, we're going to be joined by a candidate who is running for Congress, the federal State House, federal House. And so I do want to just, before we move into our interview with Ryan Dotson, who I have not interviewed, I want to just recommend to our listeners, go to YouTube and search for Kentucky's Voice, that Kentucky's Voice channel. Find those previous interviews where I have interviewed our three guests, Shannon Denniston, Jeff Hensley, and Andrew Simpson. You can find out more about their campaign just from that, and then I encourage you to go to their websites. At the very end of the show, I'll pitch all of the websites of the people that have been on the show today. I think those, all of the gentlemen that are on today are very stand-up individuals, and if I lived in their district, I likely would be voting for them. But again, don't rely on anyone's endorsement. Do your own research and make up your own mind. I trust Kentucky voters to decide what they want their state to look like, not anybody that lives out of state opining on who they think we should vote for. Okay. Can we bring on Ryan Dotson? Ryan, it's great to see you, first of all.
Great to be here with you, Lance. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and so Ryan has actually been on once or twice already with Bob Scott. So again, find that online. But we're going to really delve into the end of this campaign. We've got 3 weeks until the primary. There probably will be a fairly competitive general election. It's a Republican-leaning but somewhat purple district, so it's not going to be just the easiest slog. We'll get into all those details after the break. But let me first tell you a little bit about Ryan Dotson, who I have not interviewed before, although I have met him, and we've had some brief discussions when I've been up, talking to legislators at the Capitol. So Ryan Dotson is an Army veteran. He's a pastor of a very significant church in the area. He's a father. He's also a grandfather. He's a small businessman, and I know he's, at least in recent years, gotten into some real estate development, especially in the Red River Gorge area, which is beautiful, by the way. So, Ryan, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background, since we haven't person to person on this show talked about it. So just tell me a little bit about that background, and then after that, kind of just tell me what motivated you to get into this race.
Well, just to let your viewers and listeners know, yeah. I am a Kentuckian. I'm the only Kentuckian in this race. I am a transplant from Pike County, Kentucky. I'm the son of a sixth-generation coal miner. Okay. And it was either going to the coal mines for me or go to the Army. And after I got married, my wife and I decided the military was the right option. And so I went to the Army and I got my schooling there. I became a medic and an x-ray tech. And after getting out of the military, I came down to Central Kentucky, got a job at the University of Kentucky, and I planted my roots right here in Winchester, Kentucky, where I've raised both my daughters, and now my grandkids are being raised. And so we have made this our home for the last 34 years. Yeah. And so 6 years ago, I decided to get involved in the state house race, and I beat an entrenched incumbent. And in doing so, I took on the establishment, so to speak, and I ended up still winning this seat. And I went to Frankfort. I went down there right out the gate with 8 articles of impeachment to impeach Andy Beshear. Yeah. How many knows that we should have impeached that guy? Yeah. The way he treated us during COVID, the way he treated us, our churchgoers, and the interstate travel. We had 8 articles. And leadership at that time, they were working with me, and we were contemplating on how to proceed. But then the citizens came in and started the impeachment process, kind of took it out of our hands. Yeah. But I went to Frankfort to fight, Lance. I didn't go down there to be a button pusher, to melt away in the shadows. I went down there to fight. Yeah. I came back the next year, and I done some heavy lifting. I got Save Women's Sports passed, and I authored that bill, and I took on a lot of angst, a lot of anger from around the nation, from the LGBT community, even here in the state. But it was born out of conviction, not convenience. And we got that bill passed, and for the last 4 years, we've not had one biological male playing in a girl's sport. This Kentucky wants a fighter, and the 6th congressional district deserves somebody that'll take the fight to Washington, D.C.
Right. I think that's a great summary. So you do if you were to step into this, you would have an extensive background of experience. I know a lot of people, they want a total outsider to come into a lot of these, especially federal elections. They're so irritated with how dysfunctional Washington, D.C. is that they just want to throw up their hands and just say,
Right.
let's get the bums out and let's bring in somebody who's just a total outsider. The reality, however, is that some experience in the state house makes you a more effective legislator. So if we can find good people that have some of that experience, like Ryan, for example, to step into that, it just gives you a head start on being able to get effective legislation. Now, as Ryan alluded to, he is one of the most socially conservative legislators that we have there. He helped, I think he was the primary sponsor on the Save Women's Sports Act. And so that is one of the central pieces of legislation that he had. I know there's some national talk of passing a bill like that. Well, we've already done it in Kentucky. So we've already got a head start. And, if he gets elected, he's going to be central to advocating for that. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your social conservatism. You are pro-life and pro-Christian values, pro-family values. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Maybe your background as a pastor, how that has informed you as a legislator.
Sure. My entire life has been about service. I've been pastoring. We started a church in a little storefront building 29 years ago, and we grew from 12 people. I didn't really have a lot of connections here locally, but where God guides, He provides. And we grew that church from 12 people the first year to over 120 people within that first year. And then the second year, we grew to about 260. Then we grew to about 450. And God has really, truly blessed our ministry. And ministry is not what we do, it's who we are. It's about serving our community. And you don't just pastor a church when you're in a community, you pastor the entire community. Right. And so it's the same way as being a state representative. I could do other things and have a beautiful life outside of politics. Yeah. God has truly blessed me in that way. But I feel called, Lance. I feel a mandate to be involved. Any dead fish can float downstream, but it takes someone with a backbone to swim against the current. And I feel like a lot of Christians are not as vocal as they should be, especially when you have this woke ideology being pushed on our children in the schools and being pushed upon our families. We need somebody that's going to be a true voice and not an echo. Yeah,
that's right. And I just want to say, we get a lot of Republican politicians that roll through here around election time, and then they basically say, "Hey, I'm pro-life. Hey, I'm pro-gun," and then you never hear anything about it from them. I can guarantee both of those issues, that if Ryan gets elected, he's going to push on both of those issues at the federal level. So it's not just boilerplate nonsense that you sometimes hear about campaigning. Ryan is actually going to fight on those things. Let's talk about a little bit more on federal policy. All right. So in general, you've been broadly a supporter of the Trump agenda. So you can talk about that generally, but I know two hot button issues are the border and immigration. And then the second one is, and this partially is a result of all of the crazy heightened immigration that we've had, the economy, inflation, and taxes. So just tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are. Let's go with immigration first. What are your thoughts on immigration? And then the next I'll ask a question about the economy. Go ahead.
Border security is our national security. We are a nation of laws, and they need to be enforced. And so it puts a strain when we have all the illegals that came in under Biden. It puts a strain on our hospitals, on our school systems. It puts a strain upon our law enforcement and our housing. So we have to deal with this in a very pragmatic way and continue working with ICE locally and deporting these people. Now, if these people want to come back legally, we'll work with them on that. But we need to get these people off of our Social Security rolls. We need to get them off of our Medicaid, Medicare rolls, because it's causing a lot of havoc and it's hurting the American people. And if you're truly an American first candidate, you have to be pragmatic in the fact that you want to deal with these issues head on and not sweep them under the rug.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
And going and to your point, when it comes to lowering taxes. Kentucky families are struggling. And as a state legislator, I helped spearhead and worked with our leadership, worked with those that really wanted to take Kentucky to a new place and reform the tax code. And since I've been in there, we have taken that down to 3.5% and hopefully going to take the state income tax on down to zero over the next several years. Putting more money back in Americans and Kentuckians' pockets is my goal. And so I want to go up there and not be a button pusher. I want to go up there and be someone who's going to fight for our district, bring back some funding, bring back infrastructure, roads. When you look geographically at Kentucky, we are poised for great growth. We're within 1 day's drive of 75% of America.
Right.
And here in the 6th Congressional District, we are the heart of Kentucky.
Yeah.
We need to be, as a congressman from the 6th District, I need to be a CEO of like a Fortune 500 company.
That's right.
I need to go out and recruit the Amazons, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk of the world, and tell them why Kentucky is the best place to do business.
Well, and I think that leads right into my next question, and that's like, what industry can we try to promote in Kentucky? And so my first thought was, you've actually done some property development in the Red River Gorge area. I would love for that to be a tourist destination. I don't want to ruin the natural features of the place, but that is such an attractive place that, maybe if we get that in national park, but like for one thing, just basically talk about what industry do you think you're in a district that has all of Lexington. It's got the surrounding areas, and then it actually stretches into the west side of Appalachia. So just talk about like how we can bring in tourism, what other jobs and those programs do you think that we can do to really get our economy booming?
Yeah. Well, you look at Kentucky, we are so diverse.
Yeah.
And when it comes to tourism, we haven't even scratched the surface of what we're able to do.
That's right.
When you look in Eastern Kentucky and all the trail systems that are being put in place, and we're funding those at a state level. When you look at all the things that are going on here, when you look at people who come to Central Kentucky to do the Bourbon Trail or the horse racing, those sort of things, those are attractive here to people that are coming from out of state. And we need to capture those out of state dollars. And so I do believe there are some great opportunities on the horizon. We are a huge ag community here in Central Kentucky, and we need to take care of our farmers and make sure our farmers have what they need. But because we have 1% of America feeding 99% of the rest of the nation. So we need to really take care of our ag community here. And so I think there's some great opportunities. I think we need to build on what's already been laid. And I think they're going forward that we have a great opportunity to make some great things happen, Lance.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So in this first segment, we focused a lot on policy. This is probably the most in-depth a lot of people have heard from anybody in any of these races on policy, very specific proposals. After the break, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the end of this election, what that looks like. So I encourage you to join us after the break as we talk about exactly how Ryan Dotson feels things are going on the ground in this election. We'll talk about some elephants in the room regarding endorsements. So join us after the break as we are joined by candidate for U.S. House number 6, Lexington area, Ryan Dotson.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your special host, Dr. Lance Pearson with the Kentucky Liberty Caucus and the Louisville Tea Party. We are honored to be joined by Ryan Dotson, who is a candidate for U.S. Congress. Specifically, he's a race for the U.S. House 6 seat, which is the Lexington area, all the way over to the west side of Appalachia, down to, I think it includes Madison County, and then over to just short of Frankfort. So he covers a big swath of central Kentucky. His opponent, his main opponent in that race, and let's be serious, it's either going to be Ryan Dotson or it's going to be Ralph Alvarado. There is a third candidate who I don't expect will get more than 5%. Do not throw your vote away on somebody that is only going to get 2 or 3%. Whatever protest you're making, that protest is not going to be registered by anyone that matters. So figure out which one of these two candidates you are more interested in. Now, we're going to talk in this segment about some of the mechanics of the end of this race, what it looks like. And so the first thing I want to talk about is there's a tendency in Kentucky politics for if someone gets a big endorsement or for some reason that they think that they're ahead in a race, they no longer want to hold a debate. And I want to emphasize that debates are not for the candidates. The candidates are the people that are talking at the debate, but debates are supposed to be about the voters. If you need to have the respect of the people in your district, that whether you think you're winning or you think you're losing, you want to convince them of the intelligence, of the wisdom of your positions, and let them know what you think so they can make an informed decision. So I understand there are some situations where a person has a scheduling conflict they can't make, but this goes for multiple races that are going on in the state right now. But I want to talk specifically about Ryan Dotson and Ralph Alvarado's race. I believe that Ralph Alvarado has had initially agreed to and then pulled out of the KET debate. He also refused to go to the Montgomery County debate, and there may be a third debate. And so when talking about the KE debate and his decision not to show up for a televised debate that was held just on the outskirts of his county, it may have even been held in Lexington. Was that actually in Lexington, Ryan, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
It was right in the heart of the district. He can't make a trip over to Lexington in order to be in that debate. So his campaign spokesman, who's named Andy Westbury, said that it was good to, he said that, just 1 second. Let me find the exact quote. I don't want to misquote anybody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. He said that, quote, with a dominating double-digit lead in the polls and a massive fundraising advantage, participating in this debate or any other debates would do nothing more than give increasingly desperate, deeply flawed candidates one last chance to distract from the obvious. Their campaigns are irrelevant and clearly flatlining. All right, I can't remember a more arrogant, a more divorce from reality, actually. It's not clear to me that anybody has a double-digit lead in the poll, but it could very likely be that Ryan Dotson has a double-digit lead in the poll. There have been no independent polls that have been officially released, and I think that Ryan Dotson just published his internally generated poll that had him up double digits. So you're so arrogant that you know what's going to happen in this race so much that you can determine that the voters don't need to know anything more about me. They know everything that they need to know in order to vote for me. I think it's just an ultimate show of disrespect. So I don't expect you to have to parrot that, but what are your internal numbers telling you about this race? And I want to emphasize to our listeners, I don't care what any poll says. This race is going to come down to these two gentlemen. The voters of Kentucky are going to decide what happens in this race, and that vote happens in a polling booth. It doesn't happen over a telephone call. So go ahead and talk a little bit about that, Ryan.
Well, early on in the race, it takes quite a bit of money to do a poll. It's like 10 grand, 12 grand. So my consensus with my team is like let's not even worry about a poll. Let's just plant our flag, run hard, spend the money wisely, trying to reach voters. But I got a little pressure from DC and some organizations said, Ryan, you need a poll. And I broke down and done a poll about a week and a half ago. And so we got that poll back last week, and it was where we thought we were, because we know that Ralph Alvarado's done 4 or 5 polls. We know Plusinski has done 2 or 3 polls. Nobody has made anything public. And I know my opponents as well as anyone. If they had an advantage of any kind, I'm sure it would have been plastered everywhere. And then we saw some other polling that came into us from some other organizations, and we were like, wow, we are stronger than we even thought. So we done this poll and got this poll back, and I am up double digits. I'm up 20 points in this race. And so, I'm not ashamed of it. We've made it public this morning, and we feel like we have a strong lane to win this race. When you look at the voter turnout, people are excited about my candidacy, and we're able to excite people to go to the polls and vote for us. There's nothing much exciting about the other candidates. They don't get excited for them. When you look at somebody such as myself, who is a hard worker, somebody who's came from nothing, who is a Kentucky boy, who has a strong message, people are invigorated to get out and vote. And now with things transitioning over the last few days the way they have, it's caused a swell of support of people saying, hey, I'm getting behind you. I don't care who jumps in this race or endorses someone. We're going to go out there and we're going to fight for you.
That's right. I couldn't agree more, and I hope that is the mentality of the voters in your district. Make your own decisions. Who is it that respects you as a voter enough to tell him what he actually thinks on the various topics? I know, for example, in one of the debates, I think he might have attended 1 or 2, there was a question and answer session where they ask about your pro-life positions. If you find that video online, you'll see that Ryan Dotson has a very strong and sensible pro-life position that's consistent with our current Kentucky laws. And you could just see the expression on Ralph Alvarado when he was trying to answer that question. He did not want to raise his paddle, whether he was a yes or no, and then he flipped it right at the last second in order to take what I consider an intellectually inconsistent position on the matter. So if he doesn't know, as a person who has held statewide office before, what his position on abortion is, of all things, I'm not sure that I can trust what his mentality is on any other issue. If there's anything, as a politician, you should have that sorted out in your head, what your position is. All right. This is informative. I do want to mention that I think over the weekend sometime there was about a 1-line endorsement by President Trump of your opponent, Ralph Alvarado, in this race.
Right.
All right. And so if you know Trump, if he actually knows anything about a race or he's passionate about it, he will go on a 4-paragraph rant about the other person, calling them everything, any kind of insult that you can think of. He's a very brash individual, and a lot of people like that. In yours, it was about a 1-line. You know what? I also think maybe you should vote for this other guy. So, do you want to address anything about that? I've made my point clear. Make up your own mind. Nobody outside the state of Kentucky should have any input in who we select to represent us in the halls of Congress.
Well, we got the result. I think it was Friday afternoon, and we started getting texts that this had taken place. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, it's a gut punch, because no one wants President Trump to endorse their opponent, of course. Right. So, but here's the thing. I've never been the establishment guy. I've always been an outsider. Even when in this race, I had to face the establishment. And so I'm no stranger to a fight. And I feel like God has called me to this, and I'm running hard. I know that the attacks are coming. I know there's going to be a lot of lies. There's going to be a lot of twisted truths. And so we're prepared for it. We're hunkered down. We're working hard. And it's about the Kentucky voter. I'm not going to roll over for Ralph Alvarado. I'm not rolling over for D.C. I am a fighter. And I can't very well call myself a conservative fighter if I'm not willing to fight.
That's right.
And so I'm not backing down. I'm not going anywhere. They can come up whatever story Alvarado's camp. They can come out and say they're in a double-digit lead. They've showed nothing. My poll is consistent. It's consistent polling that we've seen from other organizations, and where ours is leading us, that we are surging at the right time.
Right.
You couple that with the fact of how we're reaching voters now. There's a huge lane for us to win, and we are excited about election day.
Yep, absolutely. I think you should be. I hear from the ground, the momentum on the ground is with your campaign. If anything, this was something that just salvaged, the hope for his campaign. He's got something to hang his hat on now. I think something that you mentioned there that I want to emphasize is that you're here to fight for the Kentucky voter.
Yes.
Your opponent wasn't even a Kentucky resident about a year ago. All right.
Right.
So he was a state senator. And so he actually got the endorsement of the Senate president. You got the endorsement of the House president in the state of Kentucky, which is a very interesting dynamic. Usually you don't see that. So I thought that was very interesting. But the important point here is you've lived in Kentucky basically your whole life, except when you were serving in the military. This guy literally 3 years ago left and went to Tennessee to be a commissioner of health. All right. So do you have any comment about that? Like, who are you fighting for? And then who did this guy decide to basically throw away his Kentucky political career in order to go serve the state of Tennessee?
Well, he and I served together. He was the rep. I was the rep. He was the senator. We served together, and he made the decision to leave after he had just won his reelection. And we didn't know anything about it as a local party. He never told anyone, and he just accepted a position that summer before. And so we didn't know anything about it. And he goes on and he leaves. And when he was asked about it, he said he has his reasons. Yeah. So, he left us unrepresented for a time in the state Senate, but thankfully we got a good state senator now in Greg Elkins, and he and I work really well together.
That's right.
But with that being said, God bless him. Go on, live your life, take those positions, but don't come back here expecting the same voters you asked to vote for you for state Senate and raise money through them and do all these other things and then ask them to come back and support you again. I'm not rolling over for that, because I think the people of Kentucky need somebody who's going to stick with them, who's going to see this thing through. And I'm not looking for another opportunity or another shiny position. I want to fight for my people.
That's right. And I think that's a great closing argument, if I'll take that as that. If you elect Ryan Dotson, he's going to fight for you. He's going to fight for Kentucky, because that's who he's been fighting for his whole career and who he's been fighting for as a state legislator already. So if people want to give to your campaign, if they want to find out more about it, where do they go?
Well, there's two ways. You can go to Dotson4FORKY.com, or you can go supportryan.com. That's our WinRed, supportryan.com.
All right. And I want to thank you for joining us. Ryan has invested quite a bit of his personal fortune into that. Please pitch in and help him finish this race. I think he has a great chance. You're on Kentucky's Voice.